Ms. Mac, question for you. Have you ever had a moment where the video game achievement trophy sound went off your brain? The kind when you 100% complete something? I have. Many years ago, I had a disagreement with my boss. I told him I was frustrated because the mechanics of the job no longer created the kind of dynamic that resulted in the personal aesthetic I sought for the life I wanted to have. The job demanded more hours from me. That meant less time for a different grind I was cooking up. One that could improve my economic opportunities. One that came with more autonomy and, eventually, a bigger paycheck. So to account for the cost of that lost opportunity, I asked for more money. Without a bigger paycheck, I was just too compelled to pursue interactive immersive art. After it became clear more money was not an option, my boss looked at me and said, "It sounds like you're at 100% here." And in that moment, it hit me. I don't have to keep grinding at mechanics that demand patterns of behavior from me which result in an aesthetic of submission. Contrary to the aesthetics of discovery, expression, and fellowship I know I'm capable of achieving within a different system. My brain wires flashed. I'd maxed out my desired skill trees at this job. Any new side quests would not net me any more useful XP. It was time to move on, to find another game. I voiced my need for more. They told me I was at 100%. Platinum trophy unlocked. What game are you playing? Everyone is playing some kind of game. Do you know the rules? Do you ever think about why you're playing in the first place? Perhaps you're driven to seek out certain aesthetics in your life experiences. Maybe you're there for mastery, for power, for a big boat, for collaboration, for meaning. Do you even remember opting in? What about the players around you? Are they playing along? Are they even aware of the rules? Are you sure they're playing the same game as you? Do they seem to have cheat codes that you can't use, or experience points from games you can't play? Or maybe you've noticed them clipping out of bounds from time to time, sniping potential opportunities from beyond the map. Maybe you started playing with one goal in mind, like I did, only to find yourself grinding for something else entirely. At my last job, a corporate job, I thought I was playing the game of do good design, develop good tech art storytelling experiences, good experience product sells tickets, make quality experience, make happy people, make money. That was my grind. That was my game.
And for a time, it was good.
The mechanics of my job fit my aesthetic desire to discover how technology and human experience could better interact outside of the single-minded dystopian vision of corpo-cyber boys in the universe. I was a member of teams that had the tools to build reliable relationships and trust. Competent people gave me the space to feel present and actualized in my work, allowing me to contribute to something greater than the sum of the individual parts. But then, update patches. Mechanisms to do good work eroded. Autonomy nerfed. The feudal lords, the lords of capital, sectioned off huge swaths of the digital and story commons I had helped cultivate. Entire sections of the map we had drawn together. Years of battle-earned experience points, collectively earned by my guild, became meaningless against these new players. And worst of all, they were playing a different game entirely. They had experience points, bonuses, and social currency imported from different systems. Games I could never access and frankly wouldn't want to if I could. My game changed to resemble the aesthetically distasteful games those other players had abandoned. This aesthetic shift within my company revealed a game we all play at one point or another. And that game is called... This game comes from an essay by political economist Albert Hirshman called Exit, Voice, and Loyalty: Responses to Decline in Firms, Organizations, and States. Hirshman outlines how individuals respond when the quality of service or engagement within a relationship deteriorates, whether that relationship is between player and developer, member and organization, consumer and producer, employee and employer, or citizen and state. When things decline, individuals typically have two options. First, exit, quit the game, leave the job, stop buying the product, walk away from the organization, or expatriate. But for many, exit is impossible. Family, immigration status, lack of alternatives such as monopolistic markets can constrain mobility. In these cases, there is another option. Voice, the act of speaking up, pushing for change, offering feedback, is more likely to occur when exit is limited. As Hirshman writes, voice feeds on inelastic demand or on the lack of opportunity for exit. The role of voice would increase as the opportunities for exit decline, up to the point where, with exit wholly unavailable, voice must carry the entire burden of alerting management to its failings. Now, whether or not voice works depends on how much the other party is willing to listen and change. And this depends on factors such as competition, brain drain, loss of market share, and the presence or absence of new stakeholders or customers or employees. At some point, the individual faces another choice: exit or loyalty. The cost-benefit analysis of staying depends on the individual's priorities, values, and aesthetic preferences, as well as the remaining mechanisms available to find acceptance within the current conditions. Put simply, if you're a customer, don't like the product, and have alternatives, you exit. If you're an employee who cares and wants to make things better, you voice. If the system is rigid and you're stuck, you stay loyal, by choice or by constraint. Loyalty isn't always voluntary. If your mobility, your figurative or literal ability to switch games is restricted, loyalty becomes default submission. At my last and only corporate gig, I cycled through the pattern of voice, success, loyalty, voice, disappointment, loyalty, voice, success, loyalty, voice, disappointment, voice, disappointment, voice, disappointment. Why was I caught in a loop? Hirshman captures this dilemma perfectly. Some may simply refuse to exit and suffer in silence, confident that things will soon get better. But voice always involves the decision to stick with a deteriorating firm or organization, and this decision is in turn based on 1. An evaluation of the chances of getting the firm or organization producing A back on track, through one's own action or through that of others, and 2. A judgment that it is worthwhile, for a variety of reasons, to trade the certainty of B, which is available here and now, against these chances. And that's the bet I made. I believed my voice could matter. I believed that if I stayed and played well, I could help fix what was broken. I helped start a union where this proved true. That's what the voice mechanic offers. A game loop that rewards participation, fuels persistence, and keeps you locked into a system you still believe in. You stay because you feel like you're making a difference. Surely this employee feedback form, this lessons learned meeting, this signed petition will move the needle. But what happens when you start to recognize the pattern? Voice, success, loyalty. Voice, disappointment, loyalty. When the mechanics are designed to give the aesthetic of voice while preventing any dynamic change, you're not actually having any meaningful effect. When they nod and say, "We hear you," while continuing on their path unwavered. At some point you realize the mechanic isn't broken, it was designed that way. And then exit starts to look like the only real move. Or is it? I've spent years analyzing experience design through the lens of video game frameworks, because game design is just applied psychology with some extra buttons and pixels on top. And these frameworks didn't just help me understand games, they helped me see the game. They showed me why I kept playing. They showed me why today voice is failing and why exit is becoming inevitable for more and more of us in the labor force. But they've also helped me see ways to break this cycle. Because here's the thing, games aren't just made of rules, they're also made of the people who play them, and the people who design them who have their own games that they're playing at. Every game, whether it's a workplace, an industry, an exclusive club, a government, an entire economy, has players or members, and every player has a reason they play. Some are in it for power, some are in it for expression, others are in it for submission, and others exploration. Also, you don't just pick a game, the game picks at you. The mechanisms of a system, the incentives, the rewards, the punishments, the levers of control create a specific kind of dynamic within and between its players. And those dynamics, they start shaping who you are inside that game and how you relate to other players. They influence the ways you trust, the ways you compete, the ways you connect, They dictate how much autonomy you have and how much freedom you actually feel. In the next episode of this 7-part series, we shift from looking at the system itself to understanding the players inside of it. We will ask, why do we start playing? Why do we keep playing? Throughout this series, I'm going to be making references to some of my favorite frameworks and books and essays that have helped me think through a lot of career decisions leading to, the situation I'm currently in. I look forward to you joining me along this journey.
One day I started seeing the static.
Phenomenal.